I'm going to pass this over to Pam, who is our host or our moderator. So thank you, Pam. Let's get going.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pam DeMellum, and I am the Just Ask Board Secretary. Welcome to our 5th annual Just Ask Aphasia Conference. This year's theme is Mental Health and Hope. I would like to thank our sponsor.
Oops. Oh, Pam, you got muted.
All right, let me start all over again then. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 5th annual Aphasia Conference. This year's theme is Mental Health and Hope. I would like to thank our sponsors, the Rhode Island Department of Health and the National Aphasia Association. Some housekeeping items. Please make sure to be on mute during the presentation, but feel comfortable to unmute at the end during our question and answer session. Each session will be recorded and will be posted on the Just Ask website in early July after the end of the conference. Those who are on the call who are interested in receiving ASHA CE credits, there are details on how you can do that in the chat box. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you have any questions, you can just email me directly as needed. And my email has been posted on all the Just Ask communications regarding the conference. Today's session is titled, Things You Should Know About Mental Health and Aphasia. It will be presented by Jackie Hinckley, Trish Hambridge, and our own Denise Lowell, who is the president of Just Ask. So Jackie, will you please take it away? And again, welcome everyone.
Thank you, Pam, and happy Aphasia Awareness Month to everyone. All right, so we are very pleased to present this morning things you should know about mental health and aphasia. And first we want to disclose who we are a little bit. So Trish is the founder and president of National Aphasia Synergy. Denise Lowell, you know, and she's founder and president of Just Ask. And I want to let everyone know that I am on the board of directors for the National Aphasia Association and also Aphasia Access. So let me introduce myself very briefly. I'm going to talk just a little bit at the beginning, but mostly you're going to hear from Denise and Trish. So I'm a professor. I'm a speech language pathologist, and at the moment I'm also a professor at Nova Southeastern University. So I'm way down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am a fellow in person-centered care. And as I mentioned, I serve on the board of the National Aphasia Association and Aphasia Access. So we're going to hear a little bit from Trish, who's also here, and here's her introduction.
Hey man, I'm Trish. I had my stroke many years ago. 15 years ago. My deficit are aphasia and praxia. During all this time, I got good support, my families and friends. My college good friend, Karen, is the speech therapist. Whoop, whoop. I trusted Karen with aphasia and important to accept aphasia. She talks about aphasia with family and friends. I practice and practice and practice and practice. Sometimes I have stress in community and I can't speak well. I got yips for aphasia. I moved from California to St. Petersburg. I'm a member of Voice of Hope for Aphasia. my friends were sometimes struggling with aphasia and the yips in family and friends and community. I want to help, so I create and president of National Aphasia Synergy, a nonprofit organization that promote a aphasia community led by peers. Our strength is sharing the stories of
successes,
acceptance, and challenging. I want to help people with aphasia who struggling with aphasia, their mental health.
All right, thank you, Trish. And now we'll hear a little from Denise.
Hi, everybody. Want to let you know that I am a wife, mom, grandmother, and a person living with aphasia. I had my stroke in 2015. It seems like it was just yesterday, but it's been so many years. After my stroke, I have aphasia. I have a vision impairment. I have a seizure disorder, and I am struggling with depression. Prior to my work, I was a mental health counselor working with children with various disabilities. Now, my job is to be an advocate for people with aphasia and running Just Ask. One of the most things I am proud of is that this conference, this is our 5th year. I would have never imagined this is where we would be, but this is great that we are now educating people. I continue to go out on the boards such as NAS. I also am on a board for Rhode Island Brain Injury Partnership. I am also a stakeholder for Acceptance Commitment Project with Dr. Will Evans. And now because COVID has allowed us to go back out in the community, I've been a guest speaker with my friends Trish and Jackie at OSHA. And we also have presented at Aphasia Access Leadership Summit. I've also been out to Washington, D.C. and I am advocating for the needs that people with disabilities, specifically with aphasia, need from our congressman. And I think that's about good for me right now.
All right, thank you, Denise. All right, so here's what we hope some of the things we hope you're gonna get out of our presentation today is that you'll be able to maybe discuss and maybe think differently about the importance and how mental health interacts with aphasia in everyday life. We're gonna talk about the yips for aphasia. And then we hope that you'll leave with some tools or strategies that can support mental health in aphasia. Whether you're a person with aphasia, a family member, a speech pathologist, or someone else who cares about aphasia, we're glad you're here and we hope that you'll get some things out of our presentation. We're going to divide our presentation into 4 sections. And first, we're going to talk about how emotions are an important part of quality of life. And before I say just a little bit about this, I want to say what a privilege it is for me to present with my friends Denise and Trish. They are fabulous advocates, and it's really a joy for me to be invited to be with them here this morning. So I want to make sure everyone here knows, whether you're a speech pathologist or a person with aphasia, family member, whoever you are, that the objective of speech language pathology services therapy is ultimately to improve quality of life. So that's what speech pathologists are there to do. And in as far as communication affects our quality of life, and we all know it does. This is a little graphic that tries to show how many different things are part of quality of life. And you can see quality of life in the middle here. And lots of things intersect to affect quality of life. And this might be a framework that the speech pathologists are familiar with. But a big part of it, this circle here in red, is personal factors and identity. Who you are, how you feel about yourself, the emotions that you experience. All those things are in this circle, and it's one of the big areas that affects your quality of life. This is important to note because that means that speech pathologists are shooting for improving quality of life. So just like improving the language abilities, improving the environment, and helping people do more activities, we also have to pay attention to these personal, emotional factors and identity factors. Now, we all maybe already know what a big impact aphasia has on mental health. So it's very common for people with aphasia to experience depression at some point. About 60%, so more than half the people with aphasia will experience depression. And almost half of them, or maybe more, will also experience anxiety. But just about everyone with aphasia experiences loneliness and social isolation. And now in recent years, we know that social isolation has a huge impact on our overall health. It has been, loneliness and social isolation has been said to be the same as smoking 14 cigarettes a day. That's the kind of effect it has on our health. And most everyone with aphasia experiences that. So these things are very, very important for us to pay attention to. And if you are a person with aphasia or a family member and you're experiencing those things, you're not alone. So unfortunately, a lot of times after people get discharged from therapy, they don't have a lot of social connections, and they might end up staying at home and just watching TV. And it's also, unfortunately, very often the case that people lose their friends. But because of all of this, that's why organizations like Just Ask are absolutely critical to the health, not just mental health, but the overall health of people with aphasia and their families. You know, other people who don't have aphasia also have challenges. And you might remember when the gymnast in the Olympics talked about having the twisties. That was a huge mental block, and she had to withdraw from one of her competitions. And she described it as dangerous and overwhelming. And there's also something called the yips. This is when you choke under pressure. So sometimes you might hear like an athlete or someone, you know, they just choked. And we all have that experience when we get stressed and other emotions. Maybe we're afraid and we just choke. We have that pressure. And these things, which happen to even elite athletes, that happens to everyone, including elite athletes, also happens to people with aphasia, and it can affect everything down to trying to order a cup of coffee. So speech language pathologists must attend to these issues and include actions in what they do when they are serving people with aphasia that address these issues. And also, people with aphasia and their loved ones have the right to receive mental health supports, some of which might come from a speech pathologist and other might come from other mental health professionals. But speech pathologists have the requirement to be knowledgeable about these issues and use relevant clinical tools like screenings for depression and anxiety and rating scales. And just don't forget, ever forget, that every time you're in contact with somebody with aphasia as a speech pathologist, you are potentially impacting that person's identity, mental health, self-confidence, and their hope. And so now you get to hear a little more from Trish and Denise about all of these things. So our next section is tools and resources for emotional support. We'll be hearing from Trish.
When someone is diagnosed with aphasia, it's devastating. We experience an unconventional grief, mourning loss of language. Aphasia creates a painful separation from our health, loved one, sense of purpose, time, learning, and love. It's okay to feel sad, mad, exhausted, frustrated, and confused. It's normal. Take a break. Time to heal and re-energize. Instead, continue to feel angry or sad. You can still a fulfilling life. Find things to be grateful for, like your resiliency. You are the survivor, a chance to reinvent yourself, learn to trust and let go. Acceptance is the key. When people with aphasia have positive thoughts and when their physical and emotional needs are met, talking is easy. They feel more hopeful, relaxed, and confident. Hope is the anticipation and trust. A person with aphasia has much more difficult speaking when they feel negative emotion, are tired, and have noise sensitivity. The yips for aphasia. They feel tension, frustration, and self-doubt. Anxiety is the anticipation and fear. Many of us have negative thoughts like these. Sometimes, frequently, when we think like this, our negative, our confidence, mood, and outlook can become negative too. Negative feelings can become self-fulfilling prophecy. We talk ourselves into believing that we are not good enough, and results, these thoughts can drag you down and affect our mood and speech. I'm scared too. I accept aphasia.
So what are some of the tools and things we can do when we're having these days? Everybody has a different way of addressing emotional. These are some of the tools that I have used or people have recommended or found that been helpful for them. Sometimes it's yoga. Yoga can be in a group or at home. Music is also always very therapeutic for many people. Whether you join a singing group or whether you just turn on your radio and let it blast and feel good. We also have some breathing techniques. Just take a break and just take a couple of deep breaths, and that might be helpful. Sometimes if I'm in a community event, I sometimes have to step aside and go outside or into a bathroom and just kind of take a break and go back and try it again. Some other suggestions or people have used is reading, which is not my skill, but a lot of people like to read or write poetry and share their feelings, and that's also very helpful. Some folks like the therapy or just going outside and smelling the flowers. So everybody may have a different thing of works for them. Try one that works for you and keep it going. Also, humor, laughter is a good medicine, and I think it is helpful for almost everybody. One of the tools that I wish I had used early on when I had more difficulty with communicating was these visual scales, not just for my therapist, but also for family and friends, so that I can understand how they're feeling and for they can ask me and see how I'm feeling. When our communication is challenged, it's harder to explain what's going on today. And using these scales is just really helpful. And it can be the pictures, the visuals, or the words. So I think try something and use your tools. Stay as positive as you can. Okay, this is a tools and resource for our family. Trish has recommended these groups for family. I have never even heard about this program, but it's at the Voice of Hope, and there's a training for care partners to go to learn how to help them, because not just us are affected by aphasia, it's our family and our friends. So finding tools for them so they can help us the best is a great tool. We also have family groups, or we have care partner groups. Those are great across the United States. We have one in a Zoom format for Just Ask. There's stroke groups, there's brain injury groups, there's a variety of support groups. And I really stress that care partners get the right resources and tools they need. There's also National Aphasia, NAA has a book that is also helpful for people. I would also ask you to join next Saturday, because it is focused primarily about our care partners, and you are just really important to us all, and we want to make sure you're supported also.
I think that hope causes improvement because it is a positive feeling. It is that hope, believe they will do better. You need to turn your frustration off and turn your hope on. Remember to to be grateful. You are the warriors. You are brave. You have two choices in life. Dwell on it and be sad, or figure out how to make the bad situation work for the favor. Try not to say, I can't talk, or I can't do it, or I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I'm scared too, but push forward. I turn those negative thoughts into positive thoughts. Switch this word. Hard, switch. Challenging. Disappointment, switch. Hiccups. Mistakes, switch. Hey, I have a speech problem. Deal with it. Bad, switch to and down. It's like a roller coaster. I can't speak, but switch. I have a speech problem now, or can't speak now because tired, loud noise, or frustration, or anything negative feelings. Sometimes you try, but doesn't work. It's easy to get frustrated. If you try to say it 3 times, but every time it's hiccups, change it up, do something different. I do shake it off, and deep breathing exercise. Relax, visualize, and be positive. If it still doesn't work, learn to trust and move on to something else. Here are some my favorite tools. I can't speak well, so I hand the person my aphasia card. I can't speak well, so I use whiteboard or picture. These tools help me to maintain my trust. Positive juju.
All right, in our next section, Denise and Trish are going to be talking about moving past fear and anxiety.
Okay, we are still the same individuals we were. We just might do things a little bit different, or maybe very different. How can you help? Get to know us, not just knowing the aphasia, know who we are, who I was, where I am now, and what my goals are. Where would I like to be? Be patient. How does aphasia affect us? It affects our whole life. Our relationships with everything, from it's the mailman to a phone call, to our children, our grandchildren, our husbands. And I know I was very devastated about losing all my co-worker friends. It's great to have at the very beginning of your changes of living with aphasia, there's a lot of people to help and support, but they do dwindle down. And then I felt very isolated. I didn't know where to go from there. So trying to find new relationships and having friends and moving forward is really helpful. It can be, coming with all my aphasia friends, it's really supportive and really part of my life now. But there are other relationships. Other people do get back to work sometimes. Some people go back to their church. There's other types of things we can do. Mental health equals our partnerships, our rules, our roles, everything kind of changes, but it doesn't mean that we're not involved anymore or why we don't want to be involved. So connect with us, find some part we can do. One of the things that was really challenging is I used to handle a lot of the financial in our family. I don't do well with math or reading or processing that. But my husband at the beginning would let me sit, not let me, what a word, that's not a good word. But I would sit with my husband when we did our bills and thing and listen to the words and watch the numbers. And now 7 years, I do it with him. I do more numbers. I can do math. I can do that. I'm part of the family again with that part of the job. So find things that we can be involved in, even if we can't do it totally like we used to. Yeah, and we want to see our own goals. I think it's great in the beginning without my care partners and my SLPs letting me know where I need to focus to get started. But you also need to know what is my interest, what am I passionate about? One of my favorite examples is to say my speech pathologist was an amazing therapist. I loved her. She was a great person, and she really worked hard on coming up with this zoo project and identifying animals, mapping, and all of those activities. And I wanted to do the best for her because I was trying to please her, even though it didn't please my needs. Animals are great, but they weren't my thing. I wasn't interested in it. If we had picked a different topic that was something I would be more interested, I probably would have did more homework. I would have focused on it more and really moved along forward. Understanding the other thing is your boo-boos. Like Trish says, the yips and stuff. If I make a mistake, don't keep reminding me I did something wrong or tell me try it again, do it again. Just say, oh, my kids were little, we used to say, oh, undo a boo-boo, just try it again. So sometimes that one negative statement really, really is so empowering and not knowing what is important to me. The other things I hear from other aphasia friends is my loved one really wants me to work on going out in the community. My loved one wants me to practice reading. My loved one wants me to do this. And they work together with my speech pathologist or my physical therapist, and they come up with other goals and plans, but sometimes they forget if I care about it. So just because it's important for you, for me to go out to the church every Sunday, that may not be what's important to me right now. Right now, I might want to really learn to golf again because that's really important to me. So really, when you write these plans and when you're trying to help us with our goals and stuff, take a minute to see what we want to be involved in and what's important to us. And what used to be important to us may not be anything at this time in our life. It may be after the stroke or the traumatic brain injury. It's like, that's not even that important anymore. This is what I want to do with my new life. This is my second chance in life, and this is what I want to work on. So really take a breath, step back, and give us choices.
If people with aphasia, mild or severe, are tired or anxious, it's challenging for speaking in the community. So becomes more frustrating. This self-fulfilling prophecies view has confirmed, and we watch the TV in the dark. You can developing strategies deal with tired or nervous. For example, right away you can use I have a speech problem called aphasia or aphasia card. This helps the stranger know I have a speech problem. The stranger welcome me to community, not the stranger are biased. is true. I can relax and communicate well. Better communication toolbox, writing, drawing, whiteboard, AAC app, gesture, and pictures. I have my toolbox. I'm ready. I can relax and I have communicate better. I'm ready to conquer. Humor is good tool. Joking around. Our family and friends encourage aphasia workshop or supported conversation for people with aphasia, developed by Aphasia Institute of Toronto. The goals are: 1, acknowledge the competence of the people with aphasia, and 2, help the people with aphasia to reveal his or her competence. Use the buddy system. People with aphasia visit the community with friends or family as the backup. Teach the friend to wait until the person with aphasia wants you help. Teach them to ask the person with aphasia if it's okay to help out in that situation. Don't use frustration. We use the toolbox of strategies.
Right, our last little section here is we want to leave you with some comments about hope.
Hope is anticipation and trust. First is you have to accept aphasia, embrace, encourage you to join groups that will help to put our direction in view and help us to gain insight on the truth, our feelings. You have to change, like technology or singing therapy or hobbies, anything. Encourage you to post inspirational quotes in your home. Maybe you can watch people with aphasia video showing them thriving. That's why I created a National Aphasia Synergy. I want to help new or struggling people with aphasia, and part of that is people with aphasia sharing ideas, tips, tools, and stuff like that. Talk about hope, looking for the future.
So provide hope. We need help to provide the hope. Did everybody hear that? Provide hope. Everybody needs to find a new purpose in life. Some of us are able to go back to work, find an alternate job. Some folks move to another state. You find a new purpose in life, find a new journey, and just kind of be as happy as you can. We've been given a second chance. What are we going to do with that? Do what makes you happy. What can help you in your new journey of living with aphasia? Some of the things that I suggest, and what a lot of my aphasia friends say, do crafts. Some of the folks go to one of the crafts, not the craft store, the what's the name of that, Lowe's and those other stores, they have an activity once a week. You can go and you can practice in the community and do something that you're interested in. Some of my folks like to play golf, but we have limited use on our right side. So are there new tools and stuff we can do to learn to golf? Yes, there is. If you want it, you will find a way to do something, or you'll do it differently. Groups don't necessarily have to be the aphasia groups. Find a group that's interested in your community. Go back to church, go to a book club at the library. And sometimes you just need to be safe in your aphasia community to build up the skills and the confidence to go back and working in the community. And those are some of the purpose you need to start living your life. There's games. I know a couple of my friends are bingo fans. They love to go out to bingo. You don't need to necessarily talk, but you can match numbers, and that works for other people. Some people just want to work on reading a book on the couch by themselves. Go with your family more. Spend more time with the friends that are here now. There's so many different things to find a new purpose in life. My new purpose, is just doing Just Ask and going out and educating people about aphasia. It can be anything small to large, but make sure you're passionate and you find new hope in life. I think. What have I done? Wow, 7 years, it's come a long way. It's a big journey. If people don't know, I was extremely depressed for the first 2 years. I was just going to go back to work and life was going to be back it was. I really had a hard time acceptance, like Trish says. But over the years, I realized that I can't do the skills and stuff I used to, but there's new things I can do. These are some of the new things I've done. I have a reading device that helps me read books again. I used to do a bigger garden in my house, in my backyard. Now I use a small one. I do an herb garden. I join the groups like Trish's National Aphasia Synergy. And my most exciting thing is I've learned to surf. Who would have imagined that, learning to surf? And this is a therapeutic yoga beach program. And then we go out on the ocean, which is great. I can't stand when I surf, but I am working on it this year. That's going to be my goal, to stand on the surfing. So find what's good for you. What I do, find something new. You can do it. So this is my love, this is my passion, this is what I do. I am so proud that this is our 5th annual conference. My goal back 5 years ago was if I could educate somebody in Rhode Island, we could get 40 people to attend and somebody learn about aphasia. That would be great. Never, after we had 100 people attend, it was like, oh, we're on to something. People want to know about aphasia. More people have aphasia. Let's help. Let's do this. So here we are, all of us here for the 5th annual one, and thank you all for attending. We do have additional tools in Rhode Island. We have our visual visor board. We have our bracelets, our communication codes. We have our website. I go out and present now. I've been at Rhode Island Hospital. I've been at universities. We just do so much, and I'm glad that I've been able to help and share my friends the tools and resources that we really need and we deserve to have access to.
So I just, Trish and Denise, give me a couple of minutes here just to say from the perspective of speech pathologists that if we as speech pathologists have the goal of improving quality of life, and that is our ultimate objective in our scope of practice, then that has to include hope. Hope is an important part of quality of life. And so we have to consciously and deliberately think how we can build in things that can foster hope in our sessions and in what we do. So hope is based on knowledge. So as an example, Trish and Denise have often spoken about how important it is to understand how the brain does change and to make sure you understand about neuroplasticity and that the brain changes constantly. And so knowing that is part of hope. Making sure you have social support. Trish and Denise have talked a lot about groups, and as speech pathologists, we can provide information about neuroplasticity. We can let our clients know that the things that we are doing or recommending will help them with changing their brain. And we can also make sure that we connect our clients with aphasia to whatever group. There's so many of them now, local groups or online groups that are going to work best for them. Again, and as Denise has often said, it doesn't have to be an aphasia group. Whatever social connection is best for that person. And then help people with aphasia look ahead and see a path. Trish said, watch videos about other people with aphasia, see what other people with aphasia have done. And as speech pathologists, we have the ability and the luxury to see what people with aphasia can do over time. And it really is a responsibility of ours to communicate that with everyone we know who has aphasia. And just in closing, a little reminder that according to Martin Seligman in his newer book called The Hope Circuit, he wrote, "The absence of ill-being does not equal the presence of well-being." So as speech pathologists, let's make sure that we are taking specific, direct, and positive actions to help foster hope. All right, so now we have time for some questions and discussion. We thank you very much for your attention. We have our emails here and we can put additional information in the chat.